Erev Tov Rabotai. So let's continue with Pirkeh Avot here. Very important things that we're learning. So it says over here, Rabbi Shimon. So it says, Al ta'aseh tfilatecha keva ela rachamim v'tachanunim. Very interesting point, right? And very important point. So what is he telling you, right? When you pray in front of Hashem, don't make your tefillah keva. What is keva? So it's like the word kavua, kavua. Like that same idea. What does that mean? It means, same thing every day. No change. It's like every day it's like you're like a robot, like every day, same thing. So Hashem is listening to you, saying, he said that to say that yesterday also. Same thing. So what changed, Something new there? Nothing new. It's all the same. No good, right? That's keva. Kavua. Right? No good. Why? Why no good? Because that means that you have nothing to add to your tefillah, to change it a little bit. That's no good. So how should it be then? Right? It says, tachanunim, v'rachamim. So what does that mean? That you should always be asking for something that you have in your heart. Because the Chazal say, rachamana liba ba'eh. So you have to show your heart in your prayer, So when you do like automat every day, like you press a button, every day same thing. There's no heart there, It looks like mechanical. It's no good, It becomes mechanical. So, but when you change something, every time something new, you put something there. That shows that it's coming from your heart, not just mechanical. You're not a computer. You're not a robot. So what does that mean, right? That a person, sometimes has a problem. Lo aleinu. He has something that he needs, So he asks Hashem, to give me this, whatever I need. So that makes something new there, something chadash, chidush in the prayer, So this is a very good thing. Why? Because otherwise, every day, same thing, standard. That's it, right? Boring. Hashem is getting bored from you already, He's not getting excited from you. He doesn't feel your heart in it anymore. Too mechanical, no good. Don't be like that. That's the thing, So he wants to see something coming from your heart. Not just reading the Siddur, every day, same thing. No good, right? So that's why, the Chazal told us that there are places in the Amidah where you're allowed to put some bakashot over there, something that you need. Where do you put it? Where in the Amidah? Bakashot. Where do you put it? Right? Two places you can, there's two options, right? One is Shomea Tefillah, right? Like the Shomea Tefillah over there, before you say, right? Ki ata Shomea Tefillat kol peh, over there you can say something you need from Hashem. Tell him something you need. Give him something, from your heart. Something that you have a problem, you have issues going on, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Let him hear it, a little bit. Give him something, something new. That's one option you can do, one opция. What's the other opция? You know what the other opция is? That you can put in each bracha, right? Whatever the topic of the bracha is, right? You can put that bakasha, which belongs there, in that category. You can put it there. For instance, let's say, right, Mevarech Hashanim, right, over there. What is this bracha about? It's about parnasah. Parnasah, right? So you can put bakashot about parnasah in that bracha. Like this, right? There are places where you can't add anything. You know which one? The first three brachot and last three. Over there you cannot add nothing. Just keep it standard, The way it is in the Siddur, that's it, Gamano. When it comes to the other brachot, which are bakashot, things that we need, so a person could put in there, whatever the topic of that bracha is, add something, that you personally have a personal need there. Bakashat yachid. That's how you do it, if you want to do this kind of a thing, right? And so Hashem wants that, You know what they say, right? The Chazal, something amazing. They say, we find that our mothers, our matriarchs, right? Our imahot, Sarah, right? Rivka, right? And Rachel, they all had the same problem. You know what it was, right? They weren't having children, for a long time. No children, right? Akara, they were akarot. So they say the Chazal, Why did Hashem make them akarot? Our mothers. What was their sin? That they had to suffer 10 years, 20 years, 30 years like this with no children. Terrible. Can you imagine? Lo aleinu, right? This happens, to your wife. Lo aleinu. It's terrible. So they say the Chazal. You know what the reason is? Hashem made them like akara. You know why? Because He wanted to hear their prayers. Every day they were praying, oh, Hashem, please help me. One more day, I have no child. Crying, emotional. You know how it is, right? Women get very emotional, You know how it is, right? You have to know, by the way, one thing that the Chazal say, by the way, I'll tell you something very important. They say that the man and the woman is like two different briot, It's not the same thing. Totally different bria. Man is one thing on this side, woman is all the way on the other side, something else altogether. They're not the same. So don't think, by the way, that's why some people have a problem, They think that their wife is just like them, She's not like you. She's a woman, So don't try to think she's like you. So what does that mean? Don't talk to her like you talk to a man. She's not a man. You have to talk to her different. Why is that, by the way? What's the reason why women are so different than men? You know why? Because their whole makeup, their whole structure comes from a different place. What does that mean? The man, everything comes from logika, logic, right? Everything, structure, everything's standard. Yeah, it's good. It has to be like this, has to be like that. Laws, right? It has to be like this. I have my way. I have my methods, I have my methodology. You know what I mean? Methodical. That's how men are. Women are like that? Emotional. It's all emotions. Everything, Everything is emotions, So when you're talking to somebody, you think she's like you. She's all methodical, logical, No, woman, emotions. That's what drives them. The whole drive of the woman is coming from emotional, So why do you need to know that? Because you're talking to somebody, emotions, are, sometimes can go wild, can go crazy. Men don't go crazy, Why? Because they're logical, unless you make them very angry, If you get on his case, he'll go crazy. But women, because they're driven by emotions, it's not stable so much, Sometimes things can get unstable, So if you see that, you have to know. Don't tell her, why aren't you like me? Logical. Don't tell her that. She's a woman. What do you want from her? Hashem created her in a different way. So don't try to compare her to yourself. Doesn't go like that. If you don't understand this, by the way, you're going to have a problem with your marriage. Always problems. You know why? Because you don't know what a woman is. That's why, the women always say, like this to the men. They say, know how to treat a woman. Know how to treat me. I'm a woman. Don't treat me like a man. I'm not a man. You gotta. So what does that mean? How do you solve this problem? You know how you do it? Since the woman has all emotions, everything is emotions. So don't get on her case too much. Too strong, too insulting her. Saying insults. Talking harsh words with her. If you talk harsh with a woman, you should know, because she's emotional, you're going to destroy her like that. And you know what it's going to be? Because you're destroying her, she's going to hate you. She's going to say, this guy, Rasha! He's a Rasha. Why? Why Rasha? He puts tefillin, he goes to shul, he learns Torah, he does mitzvot. But for her, you're Rasha. Why? Because you don't treat her like a woman, like a lady. You can't talk to a woman like a man. So this is the whole thing. You understand? So a person has to understand that, right? That women are different than men. So getting back to what we're saying, right? That the point is like this, that the mothers, our imahot, were praying to Hashem, with their emotional, right? All their emotions there that are built up there, No children for many, many years. No children. They were praying, So Hashem wanted to hear this, He was like, oh, I love it. They're crying out to me. You know, this is what Hashem wants, you know. Rachamana liba ba'eh. He wants your heart. That's why he's telling you over here, you know, that when you pray, you know, put some of your heart in there, you know. Don't just be mechanical every day, robot, you know, reading the Siddur, da 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 da. You know, good. That's not good enough.
Right.
You know, he wants your heart also. You understand? So that's the thing. By the way, I'll tell you something interesting, you know, about this. That, you know, there are two different kind of Jews in this world. You know what one is? One is called tzaddik, you know. So what does that mean? He was always religious. From the time that he was born, you know, he was born into a good family, religious family, you know. Yeshivish, you know, yeshivish family, you know, right? This kind of family, right? So what happened, right? He grew up, you know, with the proper habits, proper, you know, derech eretz, proper midot. Everything is so good, beautiful. He's perfect, this guy, right? Why? Because he was habituated like that all his life, you know, from the time that he was sucking his mother's that's the way it is, you know. So that's one kind of Jew. Then we have the other kind of Jew, right? We have also other kinds, but then we have the Baal Tshuva, right? Most of us are Baal Tshuva, you know, because most of us, you know, we weren't born in such a great family. I mean, most of us, 99%, we're Baal Tshuva today. You understand? So what difference does that make? A person who's a Baal Tshuva, you know, so the thing with him is that he is, you know, he has a different makeup altogether. The guy who's a Tzaddik Gamur, that's one thing. Baal Tshuva is different. So why do I tell you this? Because the person who's Tzaddik Gamur, you know, he was born like that in a good family. He has one problem, you know. They say, by the way, in the Chazal, they say in the Talmud, you know, Baal Tshuva is on a higher level than Tzaddik. He's higher level. You know? It says also in the Zohar Kadosh like this. He's a higher. Tzaddik Gamur cannot come to Baal Tshuva. So why is that? Because Baal Tshuva, you know, he struggled for everything. You know, he made it from, you know, he was underdog. You know, and he struggled and he got out of the Tumah, you know, and became a Tzaddik afterwards, became a Baal Tshuva. So the thing is, you know, Baal Tshuva is better. That's what the Chazal say than Tzaddik Gamur. Why do I tell you this? Because this guy, right, the Tzaddik, he grew up, you know, so everything is mechanical with him, you know. He's been doing it all his life like that. Every day, same thing, you know. Shalosh tefillot, you know, he has, right, yeah, everything, you know, is habitual. It's habituated in him. So Hashem is not so impressed with that, you know. But Baal Tshuva, you know, he came from a bad family, you know, with bad problems, you know, all kinds of things, you know. And he got out, you know, he escaped. You know what I mean? He was able to overcome this problem, you know. So a guy like this, you know why he's better? One reason is because his tefillah is always with the heart. He's praying better than the tzaddik. You know why? Because the tzaddik is like robot, you know, every day same thing. But Baal Tshuva is like a ptzatza. He's like a atomic, you know, atomic. You know, he's like his heart is full of, you know, all kinds of things. So he prays better sometimes, you know. That's why you see, by the way, you know, they say, right? You're gonna see this. If you see a Baal Tshuva, always, you know, he's going in the corner over there and praying, you know, a long time, like 15 minutes, you know, Amidah. You know, everybody else does 5 minutes. This guy does 15 minutes. You know, why is that? Because he's got all kinds of things, you know, in his heart. You know, he's inspired, you know, by the tshuva. So that's the thing, you know. The Baal Tshuva in this regard is better because he's not so mechanical, you know. He's more emotional. He's got something in his heart more than the tzaddik. That's the thing, you know. Okay, very good. So I'll do a couple of minutes more and we'll stop. I don't want to go too long. So let's continue a little bit. So now he brings this, right? That Rabbi Elazar Omer, it says Rabbi Elazar, Haveh shakud lilmod Torah b'da ma shetashiv la'apikoros. This is a very important thing, you know. It tells you like this, right? When you learn Torah, you know, learn it really, really good. You know, like with a lot of concentration. Make sure you get into the depths of the Torah. You know, don't just like read it, you know, like some kind of, you know, like people, you know, they read Tehillim, you know, but they don't even know what they're saying. You know, they don't even know the words, what it means. You know, so this is not so good, you know. He should go into the Torah deep. So what's the reason why? One of the reasons is because he says over here, you have to understand what's in the Torah. You know, why? Because if some kofir comes to you, you know, there are many kofrim, you know, right? You will see them, right? They're all over the place. You know, kofir. This one is kofir. This one is kofir. So these guys, you know, they're always telling you, like, asking you, like, wise questions, you know, like, why is it like this? Why did they do religious people like this? They're always putting down religious people. They're putting them down. He's kofir. So, and he's also putting down the Torah. He's telling you, what it says over here in the Torah, I don't know, this doesn't make sense to me, I think this is all, written by, some guy, I think Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it just from his own mind, this wasn't from Hashem. Lo aleinu, right? So that's the thing, that a person, if he learns Torah carefully, he's really careful to learn Torah, he knows how to answer this guy. He can answer him in everything that he asks him. He can always deflect him. Why? Because he knows the Torah to the depths. So he knows how to, to beat him up, this guy, to give him a good wallop. Because he's kofir. Apikoros. So if you really are a chacham, and you learn the Torah carefully, you can argue with the apikoros, and beat him, But if you don't know so good, the apikoros is gonna beat you. You know why? Because you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? So he's gonna overcome you. That's the thing, So always a person has to learn. They say, by the way, I'll tell you one thing, we'll stop here. I'll tell you one thing, very interesting, right? The Chazal say that if an apikoros comes, by the way, in the Talmud we see this, that the apikorosim used to come to the rabbis, and ask him all kinds of wise questions, Why does it say like this in your Torah? Why does it say this? What does this mean? What is that? So they were saying, kfirah, they were kufrim. So the rabbis would always know how to answer them, everything, whatever they asked. So you know what they say, the Chazal? That if a kofir comes to you, right, and brings a pasuk, from the Torah, right, and he's saying some kfirah about this pasuk, some shtuyot, some nonsense. So he says, it says that the Chazal say, if you want to find the answer to his question, you know what you do? Look over there in those psukim, and you'll find right there close to that pasuk, right, another pasuk which answers his question. It's right there, samuch. It's right there, So look at that sugya, look at that section over there, and whatever he asks you, you'll find the answer to his question right there on the spot. This is the best advice. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chanin Hashomer, let's go to the Baruch Hu, let's go to Israel. Let's go lahem tzor mitzvot shenim Adonai chafetz, le'man tzidko yagdil Torah ve'yadir.